Welcome to Resolve the Unsolved Forum initiated by Panisha EBIS Consulting Group. Welcome to our 28th free webinar, and today's topic is identifying the appropriate source of funding. Some of you might be familiar that in the last couple of sessions, we have spent some time discussing on fundings, different sources, different ways, different avenues we have been discussing, because as the industry and specifically the MSME is coming out of the COVID-19 scenario and trying to take on to regular processes and operations, various kind of funding requirements and needs are cropping up. So we thought, and people have been asking for it at various interactions we are having with the promoters, and we thought let's have different sessions which can give informations and share critical parameters with entrepreneurs which can help them out. Now, when we talk about funding, obviously in the last sessions we have talked about raising capital through equity, we have talked about debt, we have talked about self-fundings, even we covered into IPOs last week. But one thing is very critical to understand: every business and every business in its own way are at different stages. They have different requirements, they fall in different sectors. So it is very important for an entrepreneur to understanding the risks involved or the current business scenario, what could be the right source of funding. So when we're talking about identifying the appropriate source of funding, our focus today would be trying and spend some time in focusing in those areas which can help an entrepreneur understand how to go about doing it in the limited time frame which we have. So today we have our guest speaker, Professor Ramakar Jha. Ramakar, welcome to the platform.
Thank you, sir.
Ramakar has been spending a lot of time in terms of understanding the business finances. When I say a lot of time, he is in fact completely involved himself into these operations, not only as a faculty, but as a professional and a person who is experiencing it day in, day out. Professor Ramakar Jha is a qualified management professional and has been trained as a faculty for National Stock Exchange certifications, the financial market modules. His core competency lies in the area of option trading, business valuation, financial management, security analysis, portfolio management, international financial management, risk management, merchant banking. He has been a visiting faculty and an instructor at various management development programs for the corporates across the country. To name a few, with National Stock Exchange of India, with National Institute of Financial Management, a Ministry of Financial Institution, BSc Institute, Delhi University, and currently he is helping a university in the eastern sector, Sandeep University, where he is currently trying to work out on certain assignments, which is there. Along with us today, we have Mr. Ravindra Goel. Mr. Goel, welcome to the session once again.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Mr. Goel, as some of you may know, he is I would say today, a serial entrepreneur. Today, he has spent quality time in the last 25 years in nurturing not only an organization, but training and equipping thousands of youngsters across the country on skilling them and making them employable. With that rich experience, today he has embarked upon mentoring and supporting 3 critical tech initiatives. which is directly helping out. Not only that, he has been facilitating and helping out family businesses in the areas of diversifications, in terms of business restructuring, and I'm sure he will be sharing a lot of his experiences as we go along during our session today. To start off with, Mr. Goel, I request you to say a few words before we can start off with the session with Mr. Ramagar. Mr. Goel, please.
I welcome Ramakar and all other participants to our this 28th webinar training. As I said that we started this activity long back with a initiative to impart knowledge, as I have spent most of my time in education industry, and it has been now almost more than 6 months. We have reached to more than 6 months, and activity has been continuing since then. Every Saturday, 3 o'clock, we are live. Today's topic, identifying the appropriate source of funding, if we talk about, I always start with the past. People used to our kind of my generation probably used to have money. The only lender we used to feel is the family. Most of the time, it is family who used to invest. The property used to come from inheritance. The money used to come from the parents, whatever small or big, and then you were supposed to grow with it. And what you call the source of funding at our time, the bank loan was one of the main component. Loan from the bank, or loan from our relatives, loan from some private organizations, or what we call NBFCs now. There is a parallel market beyond NBFCs as well. I think if Ramakar agrees with me now. But now look at the scenario has changed drastically. Now people are not only talking about funding from the family or funding from only the banks. You have various source of fundings where one definitely is your retained earning, which will come out only for expansion. When starting up, so you have a couple of options only, like maybe equity funding, or maybe bank loan, or short-term borrowings from the people you know, the peer group or the family. Every money you bring in to the company or to a startup comes with the cost. The only thing what we forget when we borrow money from the family, we don't put the rate of interest or the cost of the capital in our project. The property we use for starting up a venture or for expansion. In total, if we look at, there are different types of funding available. Jha will talk about the earning capital or equity capital. The couple of ways are there. But yes, I'll definitely say that whatever way you are taking in money to your system, always take the cost of capital in all the scenarios to work out your profitability. Because if coming from your family or from a group where the interest is not charged, but still there is a cost. And the kind of requirement you have from institutions, from investors, so probably Ramakar will highlight them all. So I welcome Ramakar once again, and thank you everyone, and back to Sandeep for taking it further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. Thank you. In fact, it's very, very critical. So Ramakar, it's up to you. So please take us on with a brief idea about why do you feel the topic which we have chosen today is very, very critical when an entrepreneur goes for identifying the source of fund. Please.
Thank you. Thank you for giving this opportunity, and it's really indeed a pleasure to be addressing such gathering. And any type of insight that could be of help to anyone is always valuable. So talking about today's session on identifying the right source of funding. See, why this topic itself is relevant is from the point of view that many times we do things in life because we feel we are good at that, or maybe it's easily available. And that's why we go ahead with that particular option, and maybe it's not always right, because the fact is no business is risky. It becomes risky because of bad decisions taken by managers. The people who run the business are those who are running a entity, and if they feel something which is not appropriate for that business, then it goes and becomes a bad decision. So because the basic concept that anybody inherits a business, or even if he starts something, or as a scratch, as a startup, if you start planning and you start taking things up, the basic intent that has been there with every business is to be a going concern. Okay, whether a man can exist or not, the business would be there forever. And for anything to keep on surviving forever, it needs to be growing, and that's what is the nature's evolution. Okay, when we say that we human being die someday, is because we stop growing at some stage. So anything which stops growing is going to die. The same is true with any setup, any business also. So for any business to keep on growing, it's only possible if it keeps on adding value. So when we're talking of a business, and in that sense, a value that a business is supposed to add to keep on growing, in turn to achieve the objective of surviving forever, is to add assets. Assets are economic resource that a business can use or is using in future operations. And the moment we say that you need to add assets, then you need to have source of capital also. The liability would also increase if assets are increasing, because balance sheet has to tally. So if you are increasing assets, then in turn you're also increasing liability. So if that is the case, and that's why we say liabilities are sources of capital, and any business would want source upon one of the form, it becomes very important to know which type of source is appropriate for what type of business, and to make it a kind of a no risk type of venture, so that it can keep on surviving. And that's what we want to discuss, and that's what is the agenda that I have set, and I want your participation. Any participants who feel that if there's any clarification that they need, please put them on the chat box, so that we can find a time and take a pause in between to see if we could address them. So very first thing that I want to bring out, I planned my sessions on 2-3 broader topics, but the first thing is that we should, as an entrepreneur or as a startup, know what is your business and what is the business structure like. Because the fact is, the very conception or very thought that makes you think that you're the only one doing this business is not true. Okay, that brain is very rare, which is out of the blue. If you can think of something which nobody has thought, then that is very rare. It's basically you get inspired by things which is around in your surrounding. You feel there is something being done which I could do better, or there is something is being done which I could do more efficiently, is where you start up something and you have that conviction on which you start moving ahead. And I've seen some of your last webinars where we have been talking of on the same line. So the very thought process, I should be doing this business as a startup for which I will be needing fund, is innovation. Basically, you get motivated by the innovations which is around you, through which you try to take up one or the other venture. So the fact is that it's not you who are in most of the time starting something as a fresh. Maybe doing it a bit differently doesn't mean that you're doing fresh. There's somebody already there in that setup, and with that experience, you're trying to see if you could be more better, or how you take with those things. So that is where you have to understand that it's not a perfect monopoly, where you are the only one doing things, or if it's not even the perfect competition, where there is not much left at your hand. You have to survive that competition to be a kind of a going concern. So it's a mix of that structure, which as a student of economics, many times we have been taught and we have been told that it's oligopoly, that many structure with few players, few buyers. So the idea is to know that what is your business and where does it fit. On that basis, you'll be able to take it further to make a point to understand and appreciate the risk that is involved with that type of setups. And for anything to be surviving, it can't take a risk. So there is the oldest saying that we have been hearing from our grandparents, that loha lohe ko kaatta hai.
Right.
So if your business is risky, then the only way it can survive is by using of risk capital. Risk capital means equity. So even if I am able to get some cheaper cost of capital, cheaper source of capital, I as a true entrepreneur, I as a person who is able to sense my business, who by nature I know it's risky because I am dependent on factors which are beyond my control. If my business is, say, cohesive oligopoly, which we say is a structure where a few players can collude, form a cartel, and because of that, they could start dictating terms to your setup, then you're dependent on a factor which is not in your control. All business requires economic resource. If you're running a business, you need economic resource, which we say is land, labor, capital. But is there a specific type of land which is needed for your business? Then these are factors which increases your business risk. Is there a specific type of labor, not any skill set, but a specific skill set, a specific type of labor is needed, and that also increases your business risk? Or is there any specific type of capital? Okay, like we know that in Indian economy, there's a benchmark company, Infosys, but just sharing it in this forum that if you go and check that company's financials, it's a zero debt company. So it's not that that company cannot go and raise capital. As a student of finance are aware that other sources than equity is cheaper. Okay, equity is the most costly source of capital, plus it's even tougher to get equity partnership, and that way it should be very wisely been seen that what type of resource and what type of equity should be added, and how you should be going about diluting your stake in the business becomes equally important. So it's not that Infosys cannot get borrowed capital, but they don't want it. And why are we still appreciating as an investor this decision of that management is because we know that there are factors with this business which is making the risk parameter in a normal proportion where it makes sense for them to be low on debt or zero debt. Maybe today they are zero debt, they might keep on increasing that portion at some time in future. But the idea is to know your business. The idea is to know what is the structure of your business. If you are in a business where there are factors which are beyond your control, not in your control, and then if you are adding more liabilities in the form of debt, why? Because it's sourcing is easy, or even if it's like taking some loan against some personal capacity where you feel that I'm taking some amount for the sake of doing my business, but it's a liability that you're creating either on the business or on yourself. Okay, and that's where things goes wrong. So the point here is to be able to understand that when I'm starting a business as a startup, or when I'm trying to expand it, or even at stages where I'm looking to inherit something and then to probably start up and as a family to take it further, it's very important that a business should be a going concern. That's what is the first lesson which has been taught whenever somebody has been introduced to a business course or business learning, or even in doing business.
Ramakar,
a business, yeah.
If I may just intervene at this stage, you shared a very, very pertinent and important point. If I take two examples, if you can help me understand. So
Please.
You said, if my business is into a high risk area, so one, I have a new technology project. Okay. Another is I'm doing food processing. So if I'm having a Me Too kind of a business, you are saying it is better to go for a debt.
No, if it's like a business where I'm, say, even if it's a kind of a agreed product, or where there are factors, see, the point in business is to check out on your operating levels that how volatile your earnings are.
Okay.
If I feel that my earnings are very volatile, there has been good seasons, there have been bad seasons, there have been good years, there have been bad years, but the volatility is in different proportion. That's where the sense of measuring risk is volatility.
Right.
Standard deviation is where you can and measure a risk. So the point is that on what factor should I check my volatility? So if I am a business where the factors of my earnings are very volatile, and many times it's like, for example, we have been sharing IT, and we took an example of Infosys. Okay. Now the major revenue is sourcing of exporting of services for them. And if that is the case, then I'm dependent on rupee dollar exchange rate, which in many times is not in my control. I can only control some unforeseeable events by taking some hedge across in the market, or entering into some kind of other risk measure tools and techniques to minimize that. But then that in turn is also negating my potential return.
Okay.
If I'm reducing my risk, I'm also reducing my potential returns also. So many companies, if you go and check with those companies on the balance sheets, in the income statements, as other income, they would have made some earnings this year, they would have lost some earnings because of those risks that they could not take. And that's why they would be taking some exposures on forward markets or on futures markets with currency. But the fact is that if I'm doing a business where the factors that is going to govern my business aren't in my control, Then if I'm deciding to take up debt, why? Because it's cheaply available, or I'm getting it ready, whether it's my own money or I'm taking it from someone, then that's where things goes wrong. Okay. So knowing that I'm doing a business where the fact, say, I could do a kind of a business where I'm totally assured that there are a lot of supports from government because it's a priority sector. Okay, I get benefits, and I know that once the client gets involved with me, if I get enrolled in some kind of a contract, some kind of a project where there's a stream of cash flows which is constant, then taking someone else's money to do a business increases your profitability as owner, which we understand as financial leverage in many terms. And that's what that's why normally we say, a lot of people saying कि अपने पैसे से business किया तो क्या कमाल किया. Okay, कमाल तो तब है जब आप business कर रहे हो और किसी और का पैसा उसको भी कमा के दे रहे हो और खुद भी कमा रहे हैं. So that's where we are trying to understand that it's very important that fine. End of the day, optimum capital structure is where I minimize my cost of capital in terms of maximizing the value of the firm. But in doing that, I should not miss the very first thing, that no business is supposed to be risky.
Right.
No business, the moment a business sees a risk, even in a very, very normal situation where somebody becomes so very important for a business, where it's been treated as an asset to the company, the very first thing the HR manager comes and tells him is that you have a great prospect of growing, so find a replacement. Prepare somebody who can take up your current role, so I can give you higher responsibilities. It's not that they're not encouraging you, but in another way, you have become so important to that company that they want somebody to be performing your role. If you're so key person as an IT venture or in sectors where there is a human skill sets are very important, where you can't clone a person, okay, then they would try and give you ESOPs. They'll give you employee stock options to not treat you as an employee, but to treat you as a partner, so that tomorrow, if there is some luring factors which can make you move from one company to another company, okay, you would still be there because you're not a partner with that business. And that's what is one of the good HR policies that such type of business takes up. If you're in a business where your human resource becomes very important, and that key person is the most important, if he's been poached and taken up by some of the competitors, then your business will get affected. And the very first thing the business does is to make sure that it doesn't leave you, either by compensating you well, or either by making you partner or doing some. That is the basic nature of any business. That a business, to remain a going concern, can never be exposed to risk. Even if it's a 1% chance of a risk, the business should not be taking that, because the business is not in the sense of taking risks.
Okay.
Business is to be there forever, and if something has to be there forever, then it can't be exposed to a risk. The problem happens in where in kind of a desperate need, or in kind of a non-aware situation where you feel that, okay, this source of fund is available, I can get a loan from a bank, so I should be taking it because the cost is cheaper. I should not be diluting my stake, okay, because in that way I add somebody as a promoter if I'm trying to give equity. Okay, that's where the concern becomes, that I'm an owner, I want to own this company in totality, I can't add more promoters with me. Okay, because of that, I don't want to raise equity because I have another alternate source of capital as debt, and I take money from there. And that decision, if it's not good for the business, is enhancing the risks of the business, then that is something which is wrong that the person has done. So when we're saying identifying the right, appropriate type of source of capital is only on the one statement of okay, the bottom line is your risk.
Okay.
If your business is risky, it's always advisable to use risk capital, even if it means that I dilute my stake, I take promoters with me, I take helping hands, and that in turn is also risk management. If I go and approach a venture capital setup, or if I go and approach a private equity setup, for me, it's my first venture. Okay, as an entrepreneur, I'm trying to start up, and I'm trying to, my idea is good, which has been appreciated in the project, and because of which I was able to get resource where I'm looking to expand now. So if my business is risky, expansion using equity capital is making sense, because then they would bring their expertise, because they have financed 15 such projects.
So what you're saying is, Ramakar, it's very interesting, and it happens by its own nature. So if I have a new proposition and it by nature it is risky, and I'm dependent on multiple factors, involve participation.
Yeah, and if that in turn would bring more experts, because if I bring in a private equity, for me it's my first venture. But that private equity has evaluated my project, and if they're willing to still fund my project and give equity, in turn they're asking for some proportion of shares, which many times we say that for every dollar, are you able to part with 20-30 cents, or are you able to part with what proportion? That is different deal that still works out in the industry, where people will be wanting more or less. But for me as a promoter, as an entrepreneur, it's always making sense to dilute the stake. Why? Because the factors aren't in my control, and these additional equity owners whom I'm bringing in is also bringing in their expertise. They're also bringing in their technical know-how. They're bringing in their, because they have financed 15 such projects, of which few of them has become a success, few of them has gone as a loss. So they have experienced that path. They have experienced that journey. Okay, when we say, I'm not exactly remembering that stroke in Sanskrit, where the nix of that is that if you get confused in life, that which path should I take, then it's always advisable that you walk the path where sons have walked. Okay, that if I have two paths to take and I'm not sure which one should I walk through to reach my destination or the goal, then it's always advisable that you take the path where you see the people who have achieved success in life, who has walked through. So these are the institutions, these are the people, okay, who have walked through that path. So they know what type of idea would be encouraged and what type of idea should be. So there is no harm in diluting your stake. Okay, it's not that I should start up with my own money if my idea is good. Okay, and if I don't have resources, if I get equity owners who can appreciate that, then it makes sense to dilute your stake. And to many times you don't start up a venture because of these restrictions, that I'm good with the idea and I feel that my idea is so good I should take all the benefits, so I'm not sharing it. And any idea has a shorter shelf life. Okay, if you're not, as I said, no, if you're not okay, it might be once in a while where there's some smart brain that comes up and thinks of something which nobody has thought. But if I'm able to think of something from my given surroundings, then there's a high likelihood that somebody else is also thinking, and he might probably come, and by the time I'm waiting to start up because I don't have my own resource, I want to take up and make some earnings to do my savings, or take some other wherein I strongly believe that should be my seed capital through which I should be starting, then you lose that opportunity, you miss that bus. So the point here is that if your basic business sense, the idea on the true sense, that your entire potential, we are not talking about how should you go about ideating a project or a venture, or what should go into screening of it. But the moment you think that this is what is good and there are people who are there to appreciate, then there's no harm ownership, and that in turn is in one way good for the business. Tomorrow, if any business is good, maybe if it even goes out of the proportion on your front to be able to manage, then the sell-off is so good that you still become richer. Okay, it's not that the business will give you losses.
At this stage, I would like to bring in Mr. Goyal. Mr. Goyal, I think you have a point which you wanted to make.
Ramakar, you said that when you have a business which is risky with respect to, let's say, entrepreneur's point of view, like for a risky business, going to banks for debt or going to equity. Now, what do you propose? What all? Because you see, if it is risky to entrepreneur himself, now going
risky not in that sense. Risky in the sense that there are factors in the business which is exactly not in my control. If I'm in agri product and if I'm dependent on monsoons, if I'm dependent on factors which might probably have an effect of it, or if I'm in a venture where my revenues are affected on rupee dollars fluctuation, if I'm in a venture where the foreign policies is going to have an effect on my business, where there's nothing at my end, there's not much at my end which I can control. I can only go with what the market and the government policies are.
That's what I was asking. That once the business has some risk involved in it, like being, let's say, if we take someone as an entrepreneur, how and on what grounds he will get the equity from the investor or from the bank? Because ultimately our session is on to the how to source funding.
Funding, yeah. So his point is that no idea is, see, if your idea has a potential only for the sense that I'm not able to have enough money of my own to fund it as a 100% equity, there's no harm exploring and taking ownership. Okay, I'm just saying that the idea has a potential. That's why it's been able to be taken up to forums where people could appreciate it. So whether a bank appreciating and giving equity, or whether a promoter or some other enterprise or some private equity or venture capital trying to give you equity, is when they sense that idea has a potential. Okay, but I as a promoter, if I am not exploring that or going for a cheaper cost of capital, why? Because it's easily available, and I'm exposing myself as my business to a risk which should not be exposed, is where I'm saying you made a bad decision. So if my business, see, what I was using was to communicate that a business should never be exposed to a risk which is not in your control. And if that is the case, then that has to be managed.
So if I can put it across, what Mr. Goyal wanted to know and what Ramakar you are sharing is, if I have a business where I am to a larger extent sure about my outcome, it does not have policy impact, internal policy decisions, or business market fluctuations too much, and there's a market, I may do justice to my business by going for a debt, knowing that I can service my debt and I can do it.
That way you also increase your ROE for the equity owners.
At the same time, if I'm in a business where I'm controlled by international policies, fluctuations in the market, macro factors in economics which are not within my control.
Yeah, anything that you are able to sense, you're able to control, like any business. If I'm starting, see, when I'm saying in your control, then you've already checked your market demand forecast, you've done your research, you've done your analysis to know that whether I should put this plant, whether I should put this manufacturing setup, or should I put this capital, and the production that would happen would be able to be sold in the market. Those things we are taking out. That you have already checked the credentials of what you're in the business. Okay. And then if you're sensing that there are factors which I can't control, and then if you're going and sourcing debt as a source, then that is where you have done a mistake. Okay. I'm just trying to bring that up. That there are many people as a promoter who
the point is clear.
I can do this business good. Why? Because I'm good at that. As a startup entrepreneur, there are many projects that goes wrong is when somebody who's starting that feels that I'm a good doctor, I can run a good hospital. But hospital is not just doctor. There are many avenues to it, and that's where things would go wrong. Okay. Plus, so many such examples that if I'm good at something, that doesn't mean that I can be good at running that business also.
So that means I'm a good engineer and I can set up a big plant, that is different, but running an engineering business is different.
Provided that if you know that there are other skill sets needed for which I'm capable and it's in my control. And the best way of sensing that in any business is to see your EBIT, your earning level profit before interest and tax. That if my operating incomes are enough and it's giving me a kind of a progressive growth, and there's no much of a volatility, there's no extreme fluctuation that is happening, then it's fine. Then sourcing capital, which can be optimizing in nature, which we simply say is where you're able to get your source of money at minimum cost of capital, so that the value becomes the best. Otherwise, then even if I am having the example of Infosys that I cited was from that point of view only, that it's not that they can't get the debt capital. If they have an expansion need, which is there since they have been doing it all these years, they have never gone in issuing a kind of a follow-up issue in the market. The equity share is same. They have given bonuses, they have given dividends, right. And they have retained all the profit. It's all the management's thought process that we would retain almost 80% of the profit year on year to have our internal earnings so big, our reserve surplus so big that whatever financing need that I need in future is sourced by the company itself. But that doesn't mean it's free of cost. The money that I have retained, not distributed to my owners, is also cost of equity only. Sure. Okay, so I'm using equity, but somehow I'm able to convince my shareholders that this is the nature of my business. So I will not be giving you a major chunk of profit in the form of dividends, so that tomorrow, whenever I need money, I'll have my own resource. Okay, and that's why still today they are a zero debt company. Microsoft was like that for very long. Of late, they have started adding debt. So moment I see that my product range, my services, my avenues have become so stable, where I have a seasoned contracts which is coming after one another, there is no fluctuation. Okay, even though any fluctuation in the form of rupee dollar that comes in that business, there are people that treasury is also overseeing it, and they're also taking care of it by taking risk measures by hedging themselves. Okay, so when I said this, then I'm not wanting to be confused on that if the business is risky, why would someone else want to come and join me as an equity owner? Okay, but they are joining, why? Because they're seeing the risk and they know that they can be handled, and because they're taking that risk, they're expecting good returns also.
No
So
problem.
as a venture capital, if somebody is funding, as a private equity, somebody is funding, then they see that this type of idea is within their assessment area, and they are willing to take that risk to earn up that return.
Clear.
Ramakar, I have another query.
Sure,
Like
sir.
people, students, like we have two kinds of community right now. Some are business people and some are like budding entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
When the students or the business people, like everybody is not connected to the world of investments. The old business houses, they do this from the regular chartered accountants. Is the one or two investment consultants they have. Students, like the only source of getting into investor era is like from the incubation center, if it is
True.
college. Now, how do you advise, like if somebody wants to expand or somebody wants to start, so how should they look out if they don't have resources within their peer group? How go ahead and look out for the funding?
So what I was saying was that any idea that you have generated has a shorter shelf life, and as I was saying that there's not that brain is very rare, where you are the only one who has come out with that. So anything that is coming out which is really good and which you feel can be taken up, then according to me you should never hesitate exploring. Even if I don't have my resource, I should be adding partners in the form of equity. If that idea is very good, which is sustainable in the form of non-volatility on earning levels, EBIT levels, then maybe I can go and source even debt providers. And that's where the people who are assessing and appraising that project, that venture through for which they are going to source and give money, would be okay with funding that. And for that, there could be strategies that can be evolved. You could see your factors that can help you think of what type of source, what type of institutions or setups you should go in. But what I'm trying to bring out in my discussion is that the broader two agencies were providing capital to me, the one which is ownership and the other one is contractual obligation in the form of debt. Which one is good, or whether I should be mixing it in different proportion for my requirement, is the core of that should be assessing your business risk, not what you think, or not what you are having an availability of. Even if I would sense that my business isn't that risky, then I would also go one step further, saying that it's better than to borrow money, than to put your even own, you can put your seed capital, that is minimum which is needed, and maybe then borrow money, because your business is so sound, the stream of cash flow is so assured that people whom you are projecting and you're taking your project is so very convinced that he will be willing to give that money, and he knows that the cash flows are in order, and the forecast or the product or the idea that you have built in is so very strong. So the people who are assessing, I'm not going into that, they would have done all their assessment, they would have done their appraisals to be confident and sure about why they should be funding this. But the problem happens as a promoter, where for my business, I needed to source debt, but I brought in equity because I don't want to dilute. Okay, where I did a mistake, because debt being a cheaper cost of capital would have increased my.
Ramakar, like we have got the parameter clear at this stages. One, in my business, if I am able to see the risk parameters are high, currently the recommended source is
equity.
And if I see the business parameters are within my control, debt is a better option.
Debt is a better option, because that way you are able to.
So what are the different going forward? How do we take it to the next level? How do we?
Yeah. So the point is that once you have understood the concern, the factors that is going to have an effect on your risk, then we can go about ideating. We can go about checking what type of source is appropriate and what type of funds and how do we go about sourcing those funds is what is important. So for which I suggest that there should be 4 parameters on you should sense your business. One is your financial strength. Another is your competitive advantage that you have within the existing players. And then you have industry strength. And the last one is your socio-political environment that you try and make a assessment of. Now, if I am ideating something which is good in all fronts, that means my financials are strong for whatever that I have started, and if I have some past histories to show when I've been seen the performance where I want expansion need of capital or whatever, then I have some financials in front of me. So whether that financials was sound enough for me to be very assured with my business health, and if I'm in a competitive advantage situation within that industry, so I have some advantage there, plus I'm in an economy where there's no risk of political or social, then we say that any type of, you should go aggressive with any type of project. That type of project should be pushing themselves. That should be pushing themselves aggressively into taking any type of expansion need, adding more capacity, adding more plants, or taking whatever that is needed in whichever form of capital. If I'm having all the strengths working for me, then whatever source of money that you have or you can get, you should pick up for any type of financial expansion need that you want. The concern happens if there is something wrong with one of the parameters. I'm financially strong, but I am in a business where I don't have any competitive advantage. So that goes as a weakness. I'm working in an environment where there is a lot of instability. Political, then that becomes a concern. So even I'm good with financials, for which I can take that proposal to any institution which will be willing to give me debt or equity for that matter if I'm willing to dilute my stake. But that is the biggest problem. The major advocation that goes in this sector when somebody is starting up as a business is that if your business is so good, then why do you want to add partners?
Okay.
If you can't be sure of your own business, then why others would be sure of it?
So what you are saying
is that we try to bring in
about my business, why do I need equity?
No, if you need equity for expansion, you need capital expansion. I said to keep on surviving, you need to keep on growing, and for that I need to keep on adding assets. I need my capital expenditure, for which I need to have one of those sources of capital. If that source of capital is limited when it comes to internal accruals, or is limited when it comes to equity that I can bring in, then I need to take equity. That is what I'm trying to say. That if my business needs equity and my internal accruals aren't enough, my individual capacity has been exhausted, then there should not be a hesitation in adding partners. Obviously, those who are giving equity to you have that appetite. They are the one who is having the appetite for taking that type of risk, and they are the one who are able to appreciate your business and be okay with but the problem is that people hesitate doing that. People hesitate bringing more partners so that they start losing control at times. There could be hostile takeovers with examples that has happened in some cases, where you get cornered out, and that all fears hesitate you to bring equity, which was right for the business maybe. And since you had a solid financial health, you had a strong balance sheet to show, your profit loss statement is good enough to give a regular inflow of cash, you raise debt. And you feel that, this expansion need has been met, I got my desired capital and I'm able to do. But that is where you're adding and doing this mistake. So when we're saying that identifying the right sourcing, the benchmark should be that I should not be deciding what is available, what should I take. It should be the business deciding it for me. If my business, if I'm in true sense wanting to run a business forever, then the business should be telling me whether it should be equity or debt. And for that, I have emphasized the requirement of a person to be assessing the risk with the business. As I said, doing a business, if my earnings are volatile because of any factor, maybe my marketing isn't working well, my market demand analysis wasn't being conducted well, I could not sense the need of the product in the market, because of which these all are bad decisions. But then because of that, if my business earnings are getting affected and on the financial statement, I'm able to see that. And then if I'm going and raising non-appropriate source Why? Because it's cheaply available or it's readily available, or I don't want to add more partners, is where I'm doing a mistake when it comes to identifying and writing the right sources. So
The points, Ramakar, you mentioned are at this point crystal clear. So one, I need to identify about my business complete avenue. From risk, you mean to say how?
volatility on earning levels.
Okay.
For as a simple, if I want to put one statement, that as a student of finance or somebody who is just seeing financials to check whether I should be okay. Now, as a debt provider, as an institution, as an equity provider, they're seeing your idea, they're seeing your projection, they're seeing your market research, they're trying to make that sense and analyzing it, and then accordingly they're willing to be a partner with you. Okay, but if I am seeing that there has been some times or some avenues, some good years, some bad years, and there were factors which I could not control. Luckily, it came in my favor.
I understand. Ramako, that means you are saying an entrepreneur, I feel from my experience of associating with entrepreneurs, most of the time, entrepreneur himself or herself may not be equipped to analyze all the 4 areas of his or her business to specify the source of funding. That means that individual also needs a professional advice from a financial analyst to scope out and direct what would be the appropriate.
I can share of an experience that I saw. I would not name that venture and product. It was through Agriculture Development Bank in the rural setup. Somebody could see a vertical integration. They were into they were growing fruits, and in our belt there's a good setups, orchards of mangoes and lychees, and somebody advised them that it's a logical vertical integration to proceed with processing of it and making juice and packing. That way you're adding value. You could make better returns by just selling your fruits. Instead of that, you put up a processing plant. So somebody took up that project, and he went for all these things. So everything was appreciated. Okay, everything was appreciated. Everything was in order. But he was looking to raise debt for that expansion.
Okay.
Okay, and that is where he made a mistake, because he's logically, as an idea, it's all fine. I'm growing fruits. Okay, I'm going to process that and sell juices out of it, which is going to add value to my business. But if I'm looking for that to be financed by debt, then I'm increasing the risk here. Why? Because this year I got a good crop. There's no surety that's going to be every year after year. And then how am I going to service that debt? And since you had some collaterals to give, you had some land banks to show, you have something, so bank would finance that. So when I approached the bank saying I need an expansion capital for which I want to put up a processing plant, the bank would finance it because you have those guarantees, you have those credentials, you have those land banks. But that is where the business, that equity, that entrepreneur has made a mistake. And instead, he would have gone with the same idea, which had a value. It was logical to do that vertical integration, to add up that processing plant. But if he could add, because he needed some capital which he could not bring in, because his business was risky, so idea is to bring equity. Since he was exhausted and he could not bring an additional resource, so the appropriate action should have been that you go and add partner. You need to write similar type of people who can be who are willing and who can take that risk, and they become partners. So I'm saying the viability of the project, nobody knows whether next year is going to be a drought or whether it's going to be a good crop or bad crop. So that way I should not be stopping that. Since I have been doing this and I see a value, okay, but here I am dependent on a factor which is not in my control.
Okay.
I maintain my orchard well, even if I do all the plantations well, but there's never a guarantee. Okay, that is where you have to be logical with your as logical with your thought process, that it's not me who should be deciding. Most of the time, that is where you do a mistake. If I'm a promoter, I need a capital. I go and sense and see where it's available. If it's easily available and I'm not able to, my mistake is not getting diluted. Okay, then I feel that okay, I've done a right decision. I got the money that the business wanted. I got the expansion that I was looking for. But whether it was appropriate or not, let the business show from the financials, and that is always the right decision, sir. The point is that whenever nobody can be an expert in predicting anything, and when we're talking of all these things, we're predicting futures.
So I will put it like this.
Hmm.
I'm managing a existing manufacturing project. Okay. Agreeing with your parameters very clearly, or people who are there, who have joined us today, I'm trying to explain it further. Now, I know I have an industry, I have a land, I have a house. I go to Mr. X bank, the bank says collateral is there. Yes, collateral is there. You need 10 crore, okay, 10 crore sanction because you can do it. But the bank only gave me money to do business. They will not come and help me in business.
True.
I'm the only one who will now try to take it forward.
True.
When I take the additional 10 crore, I go to the market, I lose my balances, I cannot control. I carry that 10 crore debt, principal and interest. I fluctuate in my business. I create a bad situation. Instead of going for a debt, understanding my prospective seasonality, I could go to Ramakar, who comes from the same industry. I say, Ramakar, take 20% of my business.
True.
I don't worry about ownership. Instead of going to a bank, Ramakar has connection with export and everything. He gives me 20%. I give him 20% equity. Ramakar gives me 8 crores. Both of us jointly do a business. We save each other and we multiply the business.
True.
So I don't risk my company. That is what is the right.
That's what I said. That is where you should be drawing that line. It's a business telling you what should be an appropriate source of funding, not what you think or what you are comfortable with. Even if it means I need to dilute my stake to a dangerously low level where I could be a hostile takeover.
That means I should not be overconfident.
The pharma sector, agri sector, I've seen it in my area. It's the biggest concern. Many people know that there's never a recession when it comes to agri sector. Okay, and there's always a kind of we are in a kind of a situation where demand is always more than what is being supplied.
Achha, let's take a different scenario. Mr. Goyal, this was one situation which I just discussed with Ramakar right now about an industry.
Yeah.
Now, in case of a new startup, which Mr. Goyal raised a question of, in a new startup where a youngster is absolutely new, he or she needs money, has an idea, has to go across. So for him or her, the parameter remains same. Parameters of evaluating the business risk remain same.
Remain same. Whether it's on an idea stage or whether it's on an implementation stage, I always say that even if I'm ideating something and if I want to take up that project for equity or debt, then I'm still foreseeing my action. When I'm making a proposal, I'm foreseeing 5 years financials, I'm foreseeing 10 years financials. So that foreseeable future, in that if I'm comfortable, that there is nothing involved here which is going to have an issue. Like if I'm in sector.
But Ramakar, the problem is, in that case, I as an entrepreneur will not get debt from the bank.
No, sir. I'm saying that if your idea is strong, where you can project your cash flows and where you have reasons of no concern, the people who are appraising is also seeing that.
But will I get debt in that case?
No, that has to, like in corporation, some seed capital has to be brought in, but I'm talking of that if your project is so sound where the cash flows can never be of concern, then getting that is not that tough.
Okay.
Even if it's a startup, I'm saying. Obviously, if you're already, what we have discussed in a scenario where somebody is already into a business and needs something for expansion. So then for that, but even if you're, what I'm just trying to be, just to make myself clear on it, that anything as an idea, many times people hold on to that to be comfortable in life to start.
No, that's clear.
Maybe because I'm not having enough resource of mine, even if it's on a debt or whether it's equity of my own. Many times people give business equity, but there's their personal liability that they're creating to start up something. But if my idea is so very strong, then I could take it up to forums where people will be able to appreciate, and whether in that I should ask for equity or debt, that should be on the basis of risk that I'm trying to assess with my setup.
Right. Mr. Goel, any of the parameters anything which you want to add on at this stage?
You see, what Ramakar has been talking about the self-assessment and what kind of funding we must look for. Now, ultimately, you see, when a person starts his journey or maybe is looking for expansion after a successful venture, you see, ultimately, it is, I'll say, he must get connected with a lot of like chambers, commerce chambers we have, lot of organizations we have, lot of associations are there. Then there are a lot of like seminars, webinars are happening nowadays. And top of that, lot of like online resources have come up. Now one has to basically, if somebody is just started a operation, maybe let's say 5-7 years back, and he becomes profitable and now he's looking for expansion, he might not have adequate sourcing or connect with the right kind of team. So the first part I advise to everyone is that before you move ahead, you must speak to a couple of people, you join a couple of webinars, or you meet and visit some like conferences. So until unless you have a fair idea where you are heading towards, I mean, taking a decision will also not be very appropriate.
Never.
Now, we are three right now, let's say Ramakar, me and Sandeep. Now, if somebody comes to us, we are going to give our perception, our perceived thoughts. Now, but that may be 100% aligned to the business and the ideas or may not be. So I'll advise that proper homework is required before you move ahead for investment, bringing in new investment. And one must explore, learn and align as per the inputs he or she receives. So then only ultimately it is the final call is with the entrepreneur. So he must learn, understand, connect, and then find out and then take the best decision appropriate to his own conditions.
There is no doubt about that, because we saw a couple of cases. Recently, there is one case in technology which we are handling. Mr. Goel, I was just sharing it with you. Ramakar, I'm sharing it also on the platform. It's an existing company, doing quite well, good operating margin, wanted to go for venture funding. Some of us advised against it. You don't need it. You'll be surprised, without giving it equity, today they're getting a debt from an international market. Debt from international market is damn cheap.
Yeah.
Instead of going for 10 to 11% debt from India, they are getting at 2.5% on debt without giving out any equity in a manufacturing sector. So as Mr. Goel pointed out, for an entrepreneur, it is important to reach out to professionals, attend various platforms, interact with various peoples, because as you want funds in the market, there are people interested to lend and make money out of it, also get returns out of it. So there is a proposition from either side. And as Ramakar, you also rightly pointed out, it's also very important trying to understand, and the example which you gave made a lot of sense. People, when they go out to a bank, it becomes very easy. Okay, fine, I know the banker, he will take a collateral, give the collateral, take the money. But the factor is, to expand the business, I have taken a huge liability now as a loan, which I have to pay back and ensure my business grows. So I have to be so clear professionally that when I'm planning to expand, if I think the bank is giving debt, the bank is not going to be a partner with me to expand the business. As simple as that. Debt is never a partner. They just want the money back and the interest back. Equity owners are always partners. So sharing equity sometimes makes sense, because every single equity owner looks for a benefit out of the equity he or she holds and looks for a return. So sometimes giving away equity makes larger sense, because you have so many heads and so many arms and legs working along with you. If I have tried to get your point.
Yeah. Rightly said. So it's like, obviously, the point is that you should be looking
So
to
as we are trying, let me see if anybody has any questions or queries. You can put it on the chat, please, or you can unmute yourself and raise your queries. Yes, Ramakar, you were saying something.
No, I was saying that end of the day, the right decision is for the business to tell. I'm saying problem happens where people feel that I'm good at this or I'm having this available, or okay, like you said with that venture, if somebody was able to explore and get type of end of the day, the objective is to minimize your cost of capital to maximize the value.
Yes.
But in doing that, I should not be increasing the risk. This is what I'm saying. Knowing this, and then if I'm increasing risk, then that's where you made a wrong decision. But otherwise, end of the day, any cheaper source of money is going to give more value to your business.
Right. No, that's very important.
But in doing that, if I'm increasing the risk of a business, then that's where we should be.
The question is, while trying to raise money, am I putting my business to a risk? That's very important to understand. And it's a very, very crucial question. And that is where a lot of business have taken a beating.
True.
And it leads to an NPA, and things keep on spiraling up. We know it. It's happening.
And in the Indian context, I think many people getting hesitant even sharing ownership.
Yes.
You own the business. You feel that this is my business. I don't even want to have someone. I don't want to intervene in that. Nobody should be interfering in what I think. And not only here, top houses also. The fact is that if somebody could have even 14-15% of the cornering of shares, then they could also dictate terms to top nationals, the top companies that we are talking. The board gets affected because of it.
Right.
So there are many, that hesitancy on sharing ownership is there, which makes people end up into a kind of a source which they justify saying it's cheaper at cost. Okay, but that's where I see there are many fold risk gets increased.
I understand. There will be always a debate about that. I know. Mr. Goel, any point which you want to make at this juncture?
Yeah, I think it's 4:10, so we'll just at the closing. You see, ultimately, one thing is very sure that when entrepreneurs is looking out for some money, he or she never plans ahead that it will become an NPA. Now, it is as Ramakar was saying continuously that it is the decision of the entrepreneur. So everything is taken into the good stride. Because of external environment, because of exigencies, sometimes it fails.
Yes.
It is not that a businessman takes the loan or the equity just for the sake of strengthening. Sense is always doing business and earn from the business.
Right.
Some decision definitely goes wrong alongside, and sometimes it is beyond his control. Sometimes, yes, he could have taken better decisions, or sometimes he could have gone with better people. So ultimately, you see, you can connect the dots only after, only in future, not in the present.
Once the journey has been walked through, in that case.
So it's better that's why I said that you do not take any business call of funding your business on immediate basis.
Yes.
Exploration, learn, and try to align with your 5 years, 10 years vision down the line. And you feel on the paper, you feel quite comfortable and positive side. Probably then you can start taking calls.
Absolutely. I think with that, we can come to a closure for today's session. In fact, it was good and we had a healthy discussion. Thank you, Ramakar.
Pleasure.
Today. You brought in a interesting perspective about the risk analysis, which is very, very important, and linking the risk analysis of a business to the source of funding is a very innovative way of looking at it. And thanks for your time, thanks for your effort, and thanks for sharing your views and thoughts. Thank you, Mr. Goel, for bringing in your perspective and the directions and ideas which an entrepreneur can take it from your experience of mentoring and running a business. Thanks everybody for joining us. Bye-bye. See you again next week, same time on Saturday.